Joining us now, an attorney whose client, Jill Harth, sued Donald Trump for alleged sexual harassment back in 1997. She's also happens to be the daughter of Gloria Allred, who's now very much involved in this story. She represents one of Donald Trump's new accusers who came out today. Lisa Bloom joins us now from Los Angeles. Thank you for joining us. I'm wondering how you feel about the way Donald Trump is handling these allegations and the way he's speaking about the woman, and whether you know if your client has a thought about that.
Well, my client, Jill Harth, was the bravest one of all because she was the first one to come out using her face and her name 3 months ago, and the mainstream media essentially ignored the story. I wrote a piece on the Huffington Post that went viral. It got over 1 million likes, and nevertheless, nobody really wanted to talk about sexual assault allegations against Donald Trump. My client, Jill Harth, filed a case against him back in 1997. So to all of those who say, you know, why didn't women do something at the time? Well, Jill Harth did. And she certainly has felt vindicated by the tape that was released where he's bragging about sexual assault. And she and I both appreciate all of the women who are coming forward now and speaking out.
Lisa, one of the factors in all these cases is people are going to look at it and say, you know, are there mitigating things that might undermine their story? Your client, after the alleged events, went on to date Donald Trump. Is that kind of factor, do you think, something that Donald Trump could point to, not just in your client's case, but in the case of these other women? In other words, other factors that he could say, look, this undermines their story?
Well, this is a story that spans 24 years, and so it's hard to tell in a brief, 3-minute cable news segment. But she was sexually harassed by him, she says, in 1992, 1993. She has a corroborating witness, a man who is now her ex-husband, who recalls it all and who has given us a declaration under oath that she told him about it at the time and that he was present for some of it. He filed a business case against Donald Trump in about 1994. That case dragged on. Jill Harth added her sexual harassment claim in 1997. Donald Trump then came to the bargaining table 3 weeks later and said, I think I want to settle these cases, and settled both of them. A year later, Donald Trump said he wanted to invite them to his home, Mar-a-Lago, let bygones be bygones, bury the hatchet. They were very surprised, but they went. And guess what? Donald Trump behaved very nicely, Jill said. Was very appropriate with her and her husband, said, let's bury the hatchet. She said, great, let's do that. Let's go forward. And then for 19 years, they had a cordial relationship. And that's the way it was. She says, I'm a Christian and I forgave him. And so, yes, when she and her husband got divorced and Donald Trump invited her up to a party, she went to the party. It was a very, very brief, if you want to call it dating, it was a very, very brief dating thing. And she said he was very disappointing and not for her.
Lisa, talk to us a little bit about statutes of limitation. Would you have any expectation in some of these other cases that the local prosecutors would bring forth charges, and how would that affect Donald Trump if they did?
Well, we've learned from the Bill Cosby case, and I represent one of those accusers as well, Janice Dickinson. We've learned that the statutes of limitations are very, very short, and the time that most women come forward is often many years later. So I have another woman that I'm speaking to who's also a Trump accuser. It's also more than 20 years ago, so there's no criminal statute of limitations that's going to help her. There's no civil statute of limitations, and I don't know any accusers, honestly, who want to sue Donald Trump now. They seem to be motivated now to come forward because he said to Anderson Cooper in the last debate that he had not groped anyone. And for many women, that's the breaking point. And they're calling me now and saying, you know what, now it's time for me to speak out.
What's the calculus for some of the women who are hesitant to come forward? What would it take to get them to actually come and be public at this point?
The catch is fear. Most sexual assault victims are afraid to confront their perpetrator in general. Add to that, we're talking about Donald Trump, an extremely wealthy, powerful man who lashes out at people who speak out against him at his rallies. He's got millions of followers, some of whom who have been violent to those who opposed him. People don't want to be in the media glare. They're not like you and me who are comfortable talking on camera. They just want to live their lives. So, I spend many hours and hours talking to women, and I have over the last week, who are really scared. And I have to tell them, yes, these things could happen to you. You'll probably be vilified on social media. Can you handle that? On the other hand, once you walk through the fire, you can feel very empowered. And to all of the victims I've represented in high-profile cases, they stand taller afterwards. They feel very good about speaking their truth. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Lisa, I take your point about this being a limited segment. We've got less than 30 seconds to go. Totally appreciate you coming on. I just want to ask you how you feel about the way Trump is fighting back against these allegations.
I think it's shameful. He's not addressing any of them. You know, this is a man who confessed on tape. He bragged about sexual assault. Why doesn't he come clean and admit he made some mistakes and apologize to people?